Hi everyone, my name is Laura Gadenik. I'm an astrologer and a therapist, and I'm here to give you the therapeutic astrology for the weeks of June 23rd to July 6th, 2025. And I just want to make a note that this is not mundane astrology. So I'm not really talking about world events as much. That's its own form of astrology that has its own kind of techniques and things that I'm not trained in. This is more about personal astrology and what you might be experiencing more personally. And I know we can't always, or we often can't separate world events from personal experience, but at the same time, sometimes, we're having our own personal experience regardless of world events as well. So just wanting to make a note of that. So we just came off of a Sun square Saturn that happened on Sunday. Saturn is a planet about responsibility, duty, limits, sometimes can bring up feelings of rejection or like we don't belong. So it could have been that those sorts of feelings came up around feelings of rejection or you don't belong to a group. It could also be that you felt disappointed about something. There was a limit, there was a no to something that you were experiencing or something that you were doing. Saturn is about saying no, saying we got to do this first, or we got to put the work in. So it might also have been that you had to do some hard work or work towards something and apply yourself a little bit more than you might usually have to. Monday, today, June 23rd, we have the Sun making a square to Neptune. So right now, Saturn and Neptune are 1 degree apart from each other in the sign of Aries. So, when any planet makes an aspect to Saturn, it's gonna also make an aspect to Neptune pretty much immediately or very soon after, because the two are so close together. So Sun square Neptune could feel a little daydreamy, kind of like you're maybe a little out of it, a little spacey. It's, a good day to relax, rest, pay attention to imagery or dreams, do something creative or imaginative. It is good to watch out for things like deception or illusion, stories you might be making up in your mind, especially when planets are in harsh aspect to Neptune or other planets that have more difficult connotations. It's like the more negative qualities of that planet might be coming out. Things like illusion, deception, things not being quite as things seeming very different than how they actually are. So, and especially with Sun square Saturn and Neptune, and you might have even felt this over the last several days. I would really encourage people to question their view of reality, question really separate fact from perception, because Sun square Neptune can have us, having this perception of reality that's just not quite in line with the facts. And I think that's what Saturn can potentially help us with, is like separating, like, this is real and this is not real. And so, yeah, just paying attention to the stories you create in your mind. Is this really going on? And maybe it is, but it's just important to really separate the facts and logic from emotion and perception. Because sometimes the way we perceive things is not reflective of what's really happening, and it's like something that's going on in our mind or our psyche that maybe we need to take a look at, or that we would benefit from taking a look at. So that being said, it still could feel like I said earlier, a bit daydreamy, spacey. Good day to rest, relax, pay attention to your dreams or visions or things that you long for. And really, I think one part of Saturn and Neptune coming together is this sense of like, okay, this is my dream, Neptune, and Saturn's all about making things real or concrete and like working towards them. So I feel like there's this like archetypal quality, especially in the sign of Aries, which is a very go-getter sort of sign of like, okay, this is my dream over here. And it's like maybe no one has done this before. And then Saturn's like, okay, how do we make that real? So something else to consider when any planet comes into aspect with Saturn and Neptune together. On Tuesday the 24th, we have the Sun making a conjunction with Jupiter in Cancer. This should feel really lovely. Jupiter is a benefic planet. It's a planet of abundance, hope, optimism, expansion. And you might just feel more hopeful and like things are possible. You might feel like there's an opportunity ahead, or that things are opening up. And it could also be that something might actually open up for you. There might be an opportunity presenting itself, or you might be taking positive action towards something because we have that sense of hope or possibility and that optimism. There's also just like maybe a greater sense of care and connection to family or chosen family, a greater sense of belonging that comes. It's kind of like a balm maybe to like what we just experienced with Saturn, like the Sun squaring Saturn and Neptune. That feels a little harsh. Sun square Saturn and Neptune, a little harsh and kind of sad and disappointing. And then I feel like things may like really start to feel better, and like there's healing or a sense of peace that comes on Tuesday when the Sun conjoins Jupiter. You might also be reflecting a lot on family and what it means to have family or have home, or maybe what you would like to create in terms of a sense of family or home. Like, what does your home life need to feel more comfortable and nurturing and loving? So that is Tuesday the 24th. And then on Wednesday the 25th, we have a new moon in the sign of Cancer, where Jupiter, Mercury, and the Sun are, and the moon as well. New moons are always about times of beginning, of planting seeds. And so this is about new beginnings in the Cancer part of your chart, whatever house that is that has Cancer on the cusp. And, you might see fruition with regards to those themes over the course of the next month, the lunation cycle, as well as over the course of the next 6 months when we have the full moon in Cancer as well. This new moon is separating from Saturn and Neptune, so it feels like we're kind of leaving behind a difficult or restrictive situation, or that illusion that I was just talking about, that story that you might have been making up in your mind, or what you were seeing previously might not apply anymore. So that feels really good, I think, to be leaving that behind and kind of moving forward towards a greater sense of hope and expansion and possibility. So that is Wednesday the 25th. Then we have Thursday the 26th. We have Mercury making a sextile to Uranus. Mercury is the planet of the mind, communication. Uranus is innovation, revelation, revolution. This feels like having innovative ideas, outside of the box thinking, being creative with your mind. And we also have the Sun making a sextile to Mars, which feels like we are taking action on something and being assertive, and maybe even taking action on some of these new ideas that we're having. Mercury then heads into Leo later that day, so our minds turn towards the Leo part of our charts, or the Leo house in our charts. And also Mercury in Leos is quite a different feeling from Mercury in Cancer. Mercury in Cancer's is, Cancer's a water sign, a lot more focused on emotion and feeling and comfort, and it's it's a yin sign, so a little bit more maybe introverted or internally focused, whereas Leo is a fire sign and external, yang, more masculine. And so there's more of an assertive or confident quality with Mercury and Leo, and maybe more comfort in speaking up, speaking out, not being afraid to be the center of attention or to be bold in your communications, really putting yourself out there. So that'll be a different energy. Friday the 27th, we have Mercury and Leo making a trine to Saturn and Aries. So Once again, Saturn is about responsibility, duty, getting things done. It's all those things too, like limits, restriction, rejection, isolation. But usually when planets are in a trine or a sextile, more easeful aspects to Saturn, the more positive qualities of Saturn might be manifesting. So it's more like this ability to get things done, be productive, have endurance, work towards a goal. So that'll be really nice. I highly recommend using that energy to get some tasks done. And then on Saturday, the 28th, Mercury makes the trine with Neptune. So once again, Neptune is about dreams, illusion, deception, but with the trine, the more easeful aspect, we get some of the more positive qualities of Neptune. So this feels a little bit more imaginative, like we're maybe working towards a dream, or we're able to be a little bit more creative, go with the flow. Really great day to, engage in like things like music and dance and the arts, and also to have more compassion. Neptune is a planet about compassion. Mercury, once again, is the mind. And so we might be noticing that we are communicating more compassionately, or that we have more compassion for ourselves and others. And if not, then I would say that's a great day to practice compassion. On Sunday the 29th, so just the next day, Mercury makes an opposition to Pluto. So quite the vibe shift. And it's kind of, like, because Mercury is in such a close aspect with Neptune, we might not be getting as much of the negative qualities of Pluto, but there's a possibility that some of that stuff might still come up. And I don't want to say negative to be scary, or like this is for sure going to be negative, because I don't really know, but I do know the oppositions are usually harder, more tense, bring up conflict or separation. And with Pluto, it can be about power struggles. It can be conflicts that have been brewing beneath the surface for a long time. And so it could be a time where, you might have to have like an intense conversation with someone about something that's been lurking beneath the surface that you haven't said before. And it's usually good to clear the air, have the talk, be honest. Pluto is all about being honest. I would just say be careful of unnecessary power struggles. That's the one thing with Pluto, especially with an opposition, to watch out for. And be mindful of being domineering or dominating. That is also one of the potential negative components that Pluto can carry sometimes, is that need to be powerful and to dominate. But like I mentioned, it's good for digging things up, revealing things, maybe even journaling and digging into your own psyche, your own mind. But remember, Mercury made a trine to Neptune the day before, so there's still that like quality of compassion and openness and, being available to feelings and to seeing the emotional side of things as well. Friday, July 4th, we have Venus making a conjunction with Uranus in Taurus. Venus is love, relationships, beauty, art, style, creative projects. And Uranus is once again innovation, revolution, change. So this might bring about innovation or changes to relationship, style, love, or creative projects. You might also notice a greater need for freedom in these areas, or a need to like try something new with regards to Venusian themes. You might even notice a greater need for excitement in these areas. Like, I'm so bored and I just need to do something different. It's time to step outside of the box and try something else on. Like, get pink in your hair, get a new tattoo or piercing, or like do something you wouldn't normally do. There is that like rebellious edge to the planet Uranus, and so it might be time to just like shake things up a little bit, while also maybe thinking about consequences, or just keeping that in mind. Then Venus heads into Gemini, where she's a little bit more playful and flirty compared to Venus in Taurus. And on Friday, July 4th, Neptune stations retrograde. So now Neptune will be heading back towards the sign of Pisces for the next several months. On Sunday the 6th, Venus makes a sextile to Saturn. So it's kind of like the opposite of like Venus and Uranus and the sign of Taurus. Venus sextile Saturn feels like more endurance, a greater sense of commitment in relationships, maybe like doing the work to like the work that needs to be done to create harmony, to create peace, which are things that Venus really wants us to do. And then Venus sextiles Neptune, which is this very romantic vibe and artistic and imaginative energy, and once again brings that feeling of compassion or empathy to our relationships and perhaps to ourselves and how we relate to loving ourself and our own sense of self-worth. And I also think about, Venus and Saturn like being about committing to potentially a relationship, committing to love in a particular form, but also like committing to our values, and maybe even could be a good time to identify what those values are and making some sort of commitment to yourself as well. So that is what I have for you. That's the astrology for the next couple of weeks with some therapeutic tips in there. I'm available for consultation and readings. If you're interested, please reach out via commenting on the comment section, or you can email me consultation@lauragadenic.com. I do sliding scale readings because I want to be accessible to people from all walks of life. And so, I want to work with you, work with people. So please reach out if that interests you. Like, comment, subscribe, and that'll help the channel to grow. And I will be back in a couple of weeks with another astrological update. And I hope you have a lovely couple of weeks. Take care.